looking for that great next read or your new favorite author? Check out Amy's Bookshelf Reviews recommendations. You won't be disappointed. Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. It is a spin-off of the website and book review site of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast is about book reviews, a writer's muse, a book's peruse, author interviews, and literary news. Welcome to the new year, where new things may happen with this. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for listening.
Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Back in May, May to June, Amy's Bookshelf Reviews did its annual short story contest. I've tried it in the past, during separate times of the year, but I've decided I'm going to continue doing it, and it's going to be a March to June, short story contest. So it will, each time there'll be a different theme, and see what happens. This year we had a good amount of contestants compared to past contests. Sometimes a person doesn't feel comfortable writing a short story, or they don't feel comfortable writing a short story with the theme or genres that I put on as a requirement. Actually, I myself don't write sci-fi. I love it. I like to watch it. I like to read it. I'm a big Trekkie, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But I've never tried doing a short story that had a sci-fi theme to it. And so this time I actually participated myself. Obviously, I'm not going to win my own prizes. But I just wanted to show people that even if you're not comfortable with writing in something, you can actually challenge yourself. I think it's very important to challenge yourself as a writer, and try things and see what happens. You may or may not like it. When I wrote my story, I sent it to one of the judges, because this year we had 3 judges: myself, author Bob Freeman, and author Carol Balacera. I hope I didn't screw that up. And I asked them to look over my story if they had the chance, and I got some great feedback from Bob, so I basically rewrote a lot of my story, and I am very glad that I got that feedback from him. And that story will be posted in one of the Literally magazine's issues, probably the November to December, since the grand prize winner of this contest, their article or their short story will be in September to October Literally magazine, in the short story section. And one of the things about the grand prize winner, also, I will be reading the grand prize winning story on here. I wanted to acknowledge first the 3 winners completely. Grand prize winner, Best Popcorn Ever by Carol Folks. She gets some cool prizes. This year I added a Kindle as a prize. For the first prize, I actually put a flash drive that has all of my books on it, and instructions on how she can add those to her new Kindle. Bob Freeman also donated some Spotify promotion codes for audiobooks, and Carol Belisera is when she got the winners' addresses, she will be sending out books from her collection. So I want to say thank you to my judges for not just participating and being judges, but also offering something. Each winner received a copy of my book. So you want to be a writer? What now? A writer's guide, from the first word to publication. So they were able to get that book. So grand prize winner, Carol Foulkes. Second place, Swarm by Robert Plant. And it was a really good story. And so third place was Mind Trap by Donald Weiersmith. And I really enjoyed reading all of the stories. I had set up criteria for judging. So we did on a scale from 1 to 5 based on if it fit the theme, how the plot, was, the writer's style, did it match what they were writing, and also character development, and things like that. So they all scored. Then I tallied up the score, and the ones with the top 3 highest scores were the winners. So I'm going to get started with reading Carol's story on the air. So it is called The Best Popcorn Ever. Elliot forgot about his miserable life when he was at a movie theater. Before he'd sneak in the show, he chased down some timid bystander for money to buy an extra large, extra butter sack of popcorn and a large soda to wash it all down. The oily snack was Elliot's passion. He ranked movie theaters not by the comfort of the seats or by the flicks that they showed, but by the quality of the crunch. Hollywood Multiplex had the best. One day, while trying to ditch a persistent cop, Elliot noticed the back door to the Hollywood was ajar. He scanned the alley, and seeing nobody, he slipped inside. Now feeling safe, he relaxed, and his belly growled, reminding him he hadn't eaten anything since swiping an apple and a banana from a vendor's cart. Some warm movie house popcorn would hit the spot. Despite detecting no fresh popped aroma, Elliot placed his order at the counter anyway. Extra large popcorn, extra butter, he demanded. The teen behind the counter yawned. Sorry, Popper's motor burned up and we had to shut it down, so popcorn won't be ready for 40 to 45 minutes. Can I get you anything else? Elliot resisted the urge to grab the pimply-faced kid by his neck and pop him, but he didn't need more trouble, not today. Fist clenched, he stomped into Theater 2. Slumping in the seat, he smelled butter and heard the familiar rattling of popcorn in a bucket. He turned towards the enticing aroma. A man with a black hood and glasses was holding a large extra tub. Elliot, his mouth watering, whispered loudly, Hey, I thought the popcorn was broken. The owner of the popcorn bucket said, I snuck this stuff in, but now I don't want it. He held out the tub to Elliot. You can have the whole thing. I haven't eaten any of it. He shook the bucket and released the rich aroma, and it wafted into Elliot's nostrils. He added, Please, I insist. The grease stains on the bucket from the oozing butter sold Elliot. His empty stomach rumbled. He snatched the tub and soon began shoveling the salty treat into his mouth. The stranger chuckled. Good, huh? His mouth full, Elliot could only nod. The movie ended, but to Elliot's amazement, the tub remained a quarter full. Tossing it was out of the question. This stuff tasted better than anything he ever had here at the theater. He hadn't need to strong-arm anyone for it either. That four-eyed sucker had just given it to him. Elliot followed the crowd out, hugging the tub to his chest. So Elliot walked right past him. The guy who'd given him the popcorn was texting and didn't notice Elliot. That is until Elliot slapped him on the back. Hey, thanks again. The stranger's head jerked up and he stiffened. Sliding his phone into his coat, he answered, Sure, how'd you like it? You didn't eat all of it. Elliot swallowed his first response of telling the guy it wasn't any of his business. Instead, he forced himself to be civil. After all, the dork did give him a snack. Popcorn's great, but there's no way I could eat all of it. The stranger relaxed and grinned. Yes, there is. He lowered his voice. If you haven't already, I urge you to try the unpopped kernel. They're crunchy and won't damage your teeth. Again, Elliot had the urge to tell the stranger to butt out. He'd eat what he wanted of the stuff. Elliot didn't like to be pushed, but for now he'd play nice. I'll be sure to give it a try. The stranger's eyes darted around the lobby. That's very good. Well, I'd best return home. Elliot smirked. Yeah, good idea. Wanting to kill more time until he was sure the cop had given up, Elliot stayed. Besides, he had nowhere to go. He missed the movie's beginning because of that piece of shit popcorn maker didn't work. Despite its lame plot, Elliot decided to watch the flick from its start and return to his seat in theater 2. On his second handful of the same popcorn tub, the lights went out. 15 minutes into the film, Elliot got to the unpopped kernels. Carefully, he bit down on one. It yielded easily to pressure. The guy hadn't handed him a line. These babies taste better even than the popped ones. He ate until, at last, his oily fingers poked around an empty tub. He discarded the container on the seat and left, taking care not to cross that cop's path again. By the time he arrived home, Elliot felt queasy and worried the popcorn would make a second, less pleasant appearance. He chewed an acid, burped, and then fell into bed. The next morning, he stumbled into the bathroom and flicked on the light. As his eyes focused, Elliot gawked at the multiple red bumps on his face, 4 on his cheeks, 2 on his chin, and 2 on his forehead. They looked like the ordinary pimples that the ones teenagers get. He shook his head. 28 years old and still getting zits. Probably too much popcorn grease last night. He shook his head and shrugged. That, down to his toes thrill he had gotten gobbling every last bit, was worth it, especially those unpopped ones. When he stripped to take a shower, he sucked in a breath. More red lumps on his arms, legs, and torso. It better not be an allergy, not to the one thing in life that never disappointed him. He pounded his fist against the tile until his hand hurt, and then he was again calm. His morning preparations completed, Elliot left home and headed west to Westside Billiards, his usual hangout. He'd make an appearance there and knock some heads together, then go get some medicine in case he was allergic. On the way to the pharmacy, Elliot's legs began itching and burning. His chest and arms soon joined in, as if 1,000 ants were crawling under his skin. He ducked into a diner, brushed past a guy seating people, and headed into the restroom. He doused himself with cold water, but it didn't help. Neither did looking in the mirror. One glance and he slid to the floor, crying out. The lumps had become more swollen, stretching his unaffected skin until it was taut and shiny. He couldn't even smile, not that he felt like it. Bracing himself, he got up and made it to the nearest drugstore. He snarled and cursed his way to the front of the line. Hey, what do you got for this? He pointed to his face. The pharmacist flinched, but quickly recommended both pills and cream. Elliot grabbed both and got out of the store fast. He rubbed the cream on his face and swallowed 2 pills on the back way home. He arrived home and locked the door of his apartment behind him. Elliot ripped off his clothes, dug his fingernails deep into his inflamed skin, scratching and sobbing. That stuff he paid money for hadn't worked, but he heard baking soda and water could stop an itch. Scouring his cupboards, he shoved jars and cans out of the way until he spied an old box of this stuff. He tore it open, poured water straight into the cardboard container, making a soggy mess as he pasted himself with a mixture. By the time he finished, By the time he finished, he felt like the plaster of Paris. By the time he finished, he felt like a plaster of Paris globe he made in the third grade. Legs spread apart, he took one Frankenstein-like step, then another, until he reached the bedroom. Exhausted, he fell into bed, the baking soda mix flaking off and creating a white dust that made him cough. Day became night, but sleep didn't come. Elliot rose, moaning and cursing as he rubbed ice over his arms and legs, hoping to numb them. Just before dawn, he even made a promise to God that he'd visit his mother more often if only the itching would stop. When morning called, he called his doctor but got a recording. His impulse was to throw the phone against the wall. Instead, he left a message and dragged himself into the bathroom. He felt feverish, nauseated, but needed to see how he looked. One glance and he caught his breath. He staggered backwards. The bumps were now so engorged that the smooth parts of his face looked like valleys by hideous reddish-purple mountains. His hands shook as he pressed his thumb against one of his cheek. A hard nodule did not budge. The phone rang. The doctor would see him in an hour. The room seemed to tilt, and Elliot stumbled to a chair. He recalled the stranger insisting he ate all the popcorn. Maybe that four-eyed creep put something in it. Elliot considered going to the cop, telling him what? Some guy gave him popcorn? Not when he got past this horror. He'd find the bastard himself and make him real sorry. Meanwhile, he had to make it to the doctor. He bit down hard on his lower lip as he struggled to put clothes on the now painful lumps. As Elliot got outside, the lumps began to pulsate. He swallowed hard, fighting the panic engulfing him. He hailed a cab. The cabbie gawked at him, but Elliot was beyond caring. In a garbled voice, he gave the driver the clinic's address. 3 blocks from his destination, traffic came to a dead stop. No, I've got to get to the doctor. At that second, the constant itching and throbbing halted. Elliot took a deep breath and started to tell the cabbie he'd walk the rest of the way. His words morphed into a low moan, then a tortured scream as lump after lump erupted, ripping Elliot's skin apart, spewing red mucus on the windows of the cab. The driver, twisted to see, shrieked and scrambled from the cab, ignoring Elliot's cries for help. The pain of 1,000 knives coursed through Elliot as his torso stiffened and his face contorted. Barely conscious, he heard high-pitched buzzing and struggled to open his eyes. Blue metallic winged creatures, their fat bodies glistening with his blood, were hashing out of his eroded skin. One dive bombed toward his face, flashing its tiny pointed teeth. Elliot raised his arm to shield his eyes, but more winged monsters rose from his destroyed flesh and attacked him, gnawing on what was left of his skin. When the paramedics and the police arrived at the scene, even the most hardened cop lost his breakfast. Blood and mucus were spattered on the cab's door and window. Bone chips, muscle fragments were embedded into Elliot's ripped clothing. His face was shredded beyond recognition. His mouth remained open, as if death came mid-scream. A man with black-rimmed glasses watched from a distance, and he made a call. "This is Dr. Anderson. Put me through to research and development." He waited. "Our new formula for the popcorn needs work. Seems it's still got some bugs in it." So that is the winning article, short story. Excuse me. And I'm so sorry. And it was, I'm hoping that as you had listened to it, that you understand why it was number 1. The other 2 stories, all 3 stories will be posted in September on Amy's Bookshelf Review blog. The first 2 winners, the grand prize and second place, their story will also be on the Essence EssenceEnterprisesUS.com website on my blog. Of course, as I mentioned, this short story will be in the September to October issue of Literally magazine. And one thing about, short stories are not easy to write, because you put a lot of information in with a small amount of words. And it has to make sense. A short story, just like any story, needs a beginning, a middle, and end, and an end that makes sense of what the story is. And even if it's just something that is kind of chilling you a little bit, it doesn't have to be, perfect. When I was writing mine, I write short stories now instead of my full-length novels. But writing for a genre that I had not written for, and I wanted it to be different, the tech terms to be different than what we may have seen in sci-fi movies or, reading science fiction books. And I was very fortunate because I don't have this all the time. I don't have somebody who will read something of mine and then give me feedback on it. I just don't have that anymore. I used to have it, but not anymore. So when I write, I'll write it and write it and write it, and then I'll put it away, and then I'll come back to it and see what I should change. But I'm very grateful for the feedback that I got. It helped me shape a better story and actually gave me more ideas as to what to include in the story. So, a shout out to both of my judges that joined me, and I'm very appreciative of this. When you're a writer, there are a lot of contests out there. And, some have an entry fee. Mine did. It was only $10. And it was really, to cover the grand prize, this year. I did that, offering a Kindle Fire HD, the most recent 8-inch one. So, that's where my entry fee went. And I've seen a lot of story contests where the entrance fee is a little too high for my wallet, but if it's not too high for yours and it's a reputable contest, then, take advantage of it, because sometimes the rewards, you getting some kind of recognition, is pretty amazing. So I just want to say that it is, it's worth looking into. There are websites where you can go and do, searches to see like story contests and things like that. A lot of authors win contests all the time, and they let me know that they do. And when they do, I announce it, because I think it's not just important, to give accolades to, the author, but also it can, show, other readers and other authors, where you could go to submit your book for a contest. I started doing this because I thought it would just be something fun for authors to do, and I like to be able to challenge authors without them realizing that that's what I'm doing. And I hope that it's very helpful to people. This year this podcast has interviewed a lot of authors, and that's something I continue to want to do. Let authors just be on the show and talk about their work and what they have coming up, and if you like this podcast and wherever you're listening to it, if you could follow it, that would be helpful. So I want to thank all of you who entered the contest. Whether all entries received a digital copy of my book. So you want to write a book, What Now? A Writer's Guide from the First Word to Publication. Even the ones that did not win. And it was very close. Not everybody can win. So I just wanted to point that out. My book, it's part of a little bit of promotion, is part of being able to, I took 20 years of my experiences and information and advice and kind of put it into one book. So that book is available on you can get a digital version on Amazon or Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, or my other website, essencenterprisesus.com, and go to the bookstore. Or if you want to buy the book in print, it is on Amazon. And it's called So You Want to Write a Book? What Now? A Writer's Guide from the First Word to Publication. So I hope that you pick up a copy, digital, doesn't matter. Whatever kind of books that you like to read. So if you wish for you or your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. If you are looking to be on the podcast or looking for a book review, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com and look for the appropriate navigational menu. Again, thank you all for listening and being a supporter of this podcast and of the Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, professional reviewers of books and audiobooks. Thank you all. Be safe and be well.